Hello, everyone. I am Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness. And before we get started, I want to let you guys in on a little secret. In case you didn't know, I am getting married in less than 2 months, and I'm very excited. It's the first marriage for both of us, and combined, we're almost 100 years old. So I think we waited long enough to find each other. But it got real today because he filled out the information so we can get our marriage license on Wednesday. So that's pretty exciting. And, I was feeling a little tired earlier today because I've been up since really early and working constantly. And it's kind of funny how all of a sudden you have so much energy when something fun and exciting happens. So that's kind of an interesting study we'll have to take a look at in the near future. But I'm excited because today's guest, she just blows me away. She is so amazing. Her name is Bracha Getz, and she is a Harvard educated author of 41. Yes, that's right. 41 books that help children's souls shine. And she's also the author of a candid memoir for adults about overcoming food addictions. So without further ado, let's bring our guest on. Welcome, Bracha. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to hear your wonderful news. Wowee.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm usually really shy and don't share a lot of things about me because I always want it to be about the guest and who I'm talking with. But you know what? Why not spread a little joy as well?
Yay. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'm really excited that we're doing that. And it's just all of a sudden it's getting down to the details. It's
Yes,
coming
yes.
up. But anyway, I would love to hear more about you. So, would you mind sharing a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey?
My wellness journey is that it really began around age 12 that when the body starts changing,
Yeah.
I just became aware. It was a real consciousness raising that happened. And at that time, when the body started changing, I started feeling like something was missing. And what was I searching for? I began that search, and it led into really developing different eating disordered behavior and food
Mhm.
addictions. And that continued, I would say, for about 10 years, getting worse and worse all the time. Um, what I called it, what I finally discovered, what was when I found the nourishment that my soul was craving.
Mhm.
That was how I was finally able to heal. So I see it as like my soul was starving. That's what
Mm.
that desperate search was. It was like fluctuating between very restrictive dieting and uncontrollable binges, one or the other. It was horrible. So it was yeah, and it got worse and worse, and the prison walls got narrower and narrower in the addiction. So I was, very thrilled to finally heal from that because it's a terrible place to live. And that was my main journey. And ever since then, I never have been running on empty anymore. There's always been a level of joy and gratitude in my life now
Mhm.
that I understand what life is about, and I have more trust in life. So yeah, and then I started to write books to help, like, the girl I used to be.
Mhm.
I'm writing to that person so she could know from the beginning of life what's the purpose for being here, how to have happiness skills early on so you don't have to play catch up like most of us way later in life.
That's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. There's so many things I want to touch on. But first, I do want to acknowledge the fact that you are so open about having this food addiction because it's not like alcohol, or it's not like, drugs, where you can stay away from it if you want to. Like, ultimately you have to figure out a way to live with food no matter what, because we need to eat. So, just, I mean, it could, I can't even imagine. I mean, I've had my own disordered eating habits and my own issues with food, so I completely, not completely understand, but I know what it was like for me.
Yes, and you know what I realized? You're bringing up a really good point. It's not that all food is addictive. Like with drugs and alcohol, like the certain foods are designed to be addictive,
Hmm.
while like the natural whole foods are not designed to be addictive. They have the fiber, the nutrients, the water content that we need to nourish our bodies. Like I- the these kind of foods, a whole
Hmm.
food is designed to be delicious and nutritious, while the junk is really designed to be delicious and addictive, like completely different types of things. So truthfully, if we stick to mainly eating the whole foods, it helps a lot with the addiction problems. It really does, because we're just not gonna like eat 2 bags of oranges. You know what I mean? Like, but right, but like a bag of potato chips, we can just devour the whole thing easily, or a whole tub of ice cream. But these kind of foods, that's not what happens, because it does fill us, and once we add the gratitude to it, it fills us even more. Yeah.
And now I think that that's a really, really good point. I was talking with somebody earlier today, and she was talking about counting calories. And I was like, woo, woo. Like, you're not going to OD on spinach. Like, you're just not going to eat too much of it. You don't have to worry about that. If you eat whole foods, real foods, not food like substances, you don't have to worry so much about how much you're eating of it. You're just automatically going to stop.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And that fills you with gratitude, because you appreciate how how these kind of foods, the healthy foods, were were designed with like infinite intelligence and
Hmm.
infinite loving kindness. This is how the world was designed for us to eat like this. I I I love to talk about an orange because it's such a beautiful example. These fruits, they're all green. They're
Hmm.
camouflaged in with the trees until they're ready, and then they become bright and beautiful. We're ready. They're calling us, with their beauty. They smell good, they look beautiful, and they have this sweet juiciness that's kept inside of this individual packaging, for months. The it takes care of it. And then inside are the seeds of eternity. These They become infinite amount of trees, and then an infinite amount of oranges, and like we compare that to an orange flavored tangy taffy. We, even the wrapper pollutes the environment, while this wrapper is good for the environment. It's amazing how different they are. And when we recognize it, it takes the shame and the guilt away from us. When we, you know, um, are in active addiction, a person is overeating that kind of food, it's not their fault. Like our body's programmed to respond that way to the junk,
Hmm.
you know? So
Yeah.
when we overeat it, we're just responding. So that's why keeping not even buying the stuff, not even bringing it into the house is such a great thing to do. The things that are not healthy. Yeah.
Exactly. I love the way you speak about food, because it makes it, I don't know, just so much more fun.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's what I do in my books. It so that's this book in Let's Stay Healthy. That's what I wrote for children. I'm explaining to the children. This was during the pandemic. a mother reached out to me, help, like the children are eating junk all day and they're not sleeping and they're not exercising. So please write a book about this. So my background, even when I was an undergraduate at Harvard, I was taking courses at the Graduate School of Public Health because I love public health. So I teach how to, I teach the why. Why
Mhm.
is it important to eat healthy foods? Why is it important to move our bodies? Why is it important to get enough sleep? Like, I tell them, do an experiment, see how you feel the next day when you've had enough sleep and when you haven't, you know, and you will see you have more energy, you're happier. So children can get this, you know. I explained that our bodies were designed to move.
Mhm.
That makes us feel so good and joyful. Well, it, and children are just told do this and do that, but we have to explain why, and that
Mhm.
then it can be absorbed so much more easily.
Two things I want to say. One is, yes, I think that children should, be explained why, because one, it's education, but also I think as adults, we underestimate kids and what their abilities are, and sometimes get a little lazy because we don't really feel like explaining, or maybe we don't even really 100% understand ourselves. But, I just feel like when I was a kid, and I remember this thinking, but why? Why can't you explain it to me? I don't have a problem doing it, but I want to understand. And it used to bother me when it was because I said so.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So that's just, that one I totally understand. And I forgot what the other thing I was going to say was, but we'll get back to it. I know it's going to come back because it was
Yeah.
something that has to do with you. But I just love too that, you're taking, oh, I do remember actually. So,
Woo.
but what your stories make me think of are kind of in a way like fairy tales or even cartoons where it's intended for children, but adults get something good out of it as well.
That's exactly right. People don't realize this. The only books that are read by every age are children's books because
Mhm.
you have elderly people reading it to the children, you have their parents reading it, teachers, the
Yeah.
children, and even teens. They find the books laying around and they'll read it, you know, and they'll
Mhm.
absorb the messages. I hear from teens say, "Oh, now I get why I need to go to sleep." You know,
Mhm.
it's so wonderful just from picking that up and reading it. It's exactly right. People, if you want to really get your message deeply ingrained on someone's soul, that's what a children's book can do. Yes.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
And
just
I take topics like abuse, prevention of abuse, because all of my books, what they all have in common is they help children's souls to shine.
Mhm.
Abuse is one of those things that puts a big covering over a child's shining, their ability to shine. So it's like this. This is it. You know, we are shining, and when abuse happens, it's like it covers up, so you can't
Mhm.
even feel that you're still shining, but you are. The
Mhm.
truth is, as these layers get removed through a coach, through therapeutic intervention, support of others, then you realize you're completely infinitely resilient. You're always shining. It never stops, but you can't tell because
Mhm.
of things like abuse, neglect, trauma that happen, and it covers up that beautiful shine that's in everybody. Yeah.
Makes me think, because as I was mentioning to you before about Southern California, it's like the sun. Even if the clouds are out, the sun is still shining.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's exactly it. The
Yeah.
clouds, the depression, the anxiety, all of this covers up the beautiful souls, but it's still shining. And we just have to get that resilience out again, right? So I have books about even the prevention of abuse, and the children love it. They love having the guidelines. It makes the world less fearful when you
Mhm.
can learn how to be more proactive, and it's empowering for the children,
That's
right?
amazing. So, which came first, the children's books or your memoir?
Uh, so the memoir, I started writing children's books a whole bunch of years ago, but the memoir, actually, that's a great question. In a way, the memoir started first because I I write I don't write long books. So I didn't even write my memoir. It's a collection of like the highlights
Mhm.
from age 12 to 32. And I had my diary. I took out the highlights from my diaries, my journals, my letters, and I just filled in the missing pieces. So that's what it is. You could say I started it at age 12. I did, but I started writing my books later on. So it's hard to say which came first. So that was a really good question. Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that. So, with 41 children's books, I'm sure you're not done either.
yeah. There's more in the process right now. Exactly right.
So
Yeah.
I popped up your website before, but I would love for you to explain how this came about because you have so much to offer. I mean, it reminds me of those. Well, you're very prolific. I'll just say
Yeah.
it like that. But now you have your own, space where you can sell these. How did that come about?
Great question too. I am not into business. I don't like selling my books. This is not my thing. My youngest children just decided to do this. So this is their business. So I'm thrilled to help their business. And they love to get my messages out into the world. So they started this Gets Bookshop. And with my 40th book, they told me, please stop sending your books to the publishers. We want to become a publisher and a bookseller. So that's their business now. So now they have started, my last two books have been published by my children.
I
Yeah.
love that. I think that that's absolutely amazing. So, I guess my next question would be actually, we have to go to commercial. So, you get a baby reprieve. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. For those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here. As I mentioned, it's time for us to go to commercial. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what it was like for Braca to raise her kids and if she was able to maybe learn different ways to teach other children through raising her own. So we'll be back in just a minute.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You're watching Own Your Wellness, and today's amazingly special guest is Bracha Getz. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I love these videos that I'm watching, your commercials. They're beautiful.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much. I appreciate that, considering I made most of them myself. So
Excellent. They are absolutely, they're inspiring and beautiful. I love
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate that. And speaking of inspiring and beautiful, we're talking about how you inspire beautiful children.
Yeah.
And, having written as many books as you have, I mean, unless you just write them really quick, which is entirely possible too, but did you learn from raising your own kids things that maybe you'd forgotten yourself, or, how did it influence your book writing?
Yes. I am definitely writing to the girl I used to be. I'm writing the books I wished I had as a child. I wanted to know these skills, happiness skills early on in life, not later on, so you have to play catch up for many years. Give these guidelines early on so children can have more of a sense of trust in the world and learn how to live more joyfully.
Mhm.
Children can understand about gratitude really early on in life, and that's what I try to instill in children really early on. And I for sure my children are a big influence on my writing. They always have been, and now my grandchildren are. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's so beautiful. Something that I was thinking about too is, well, actually, let's pop this up too. I have another piece of artwork here.
Yeah.
Explain what this book is. Don't read
Oh,
this book.
oh, I'd love to. Yeah, this is my newest book. This is so cool. This book, talk about how long it takes to write a book. It took me 30 years to write this children's book. I'll tell you why. I came up with the idea about 30 years ago, and I wrote it and I loved it. And I said, no, it's not ready. Something's missing. And then I worked on it again through the years and again. And until last year, I came up with the missing piece that made the book finally be ready. So this book is about that voice in your head. This is a book for children, but it's for adults as well. We all have this voice in our heads. It's totally normal, trying to get us to be miserable and trying to get us to do the wrong thing. It's there all the time. So what do we do when we recognize the voice? That's when we get power over that voice. When we recognize, oh, it's that voice again, trying to make me miserable. The minute we say that, it loses its power. It flies away. In this book, the that voice is depicted by a fly, which a fly always comes back to like the lowest stuff. And then it keeps coming back as we shoo it away. It keeps coming back, just like those kind of thoughts in our head. So how do we combat it? We learn the techniques it uses and we use it against it. This is what we do. Like it'll say, I'll just have one piece of cake. And that's not, it's what it tells you. That's what the voice says. So
Mhm.
you can use that. First of all, you recognize the voice. Oh, that's you saying that to me. You're trying to trick me. It's always using tricks. It comes in different disguises. So you say, you know what? I'm going to use that technique too. When you're in bed and you don't feel like getting up in the morning, you go, I'm just going to stretch a little bit. And you see how good that feels. You stretch a little more. You use the same things. I'll just do this a little bit. And like
Mhm.
when you don't feel like doing something, you go, I'll just do it for like 2 minutes. That's how you overcome it. Okay. Another technique it uses. If I just had that, I'd be happy. Yeah. So you say to the voice, you know what? I've heard that before. I'm going to be happy with so much that I have right now. That's how you develop the habit of gratitude, as opposed to always thinking, if I just have that, I'll be happy. Think of
Mhm.
all the things you already have. That's that's how you combat these feelings. So at the end of the book, this is what I just realized last year, is the surprise ending. I'm going to share it because it's just so important. This ending is that voice in our heads. This is why I couldn't publish it until last year. It seemed like really kind of too evil and scary for children. And then I realized, guess what? That voice really doesn't want you to listen to it. That voice was also planned for your benefit. That voice is like a barbell for you to train yourself. Like it's almost like a fitness trainer. Lift
Mhm.
lift it off, push it off, and that's how you develop your gratitude muscles, by experiencing pushing it off and saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be happy with what I have." Push it off. So the point is that it really wants you to succeed. It's
Mhm.
implanted in you also for your ultimate goodness, to help you to overcome it, strengthen your gratitude muscles by pushing it off. So the book, it changed the whole tone when I realized that it's a joyful message to everybody in life about really how to overcome that nasty nagger in your head, and then realize even that voice wants you to succeed as well.
That is beautiful. I've never really heard it put that way, but if you can make a friend out of it, it
Yes,
does make it a lot less you against it, you know?
exactly. And it loses its power. It seems so
Mhm.
powerful. Now it empowers you. It's
Exactly.
and it makes you trust life more. Trust in the ultimate goodness of life. It's a complete change, which is what I went through when the
Mhm.
world was completely gray and I felt there were no morals left in my life. To have that complete transformation, and suddenly the world came back with color, in bright, vivid, beautiful colors, because I began to trust in my own goodness and in the goodness of life. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Like you said, it's for adults too. I
Yes.
think that we as adults overcomplicate things, trying to make it a lot more hard to understand. But you and I, when we spoke a previous time, this is for the audience. She and I spoke, but we talked a little bit about how schools don't teach you things that you really need to learn. Like, how do you handle when you feel sad?
Yes.
What are you
Yes.
supposed to do with your anger when you feel it? Boys are taught, stop, even girls too, stop being a crybaby, suck it up instead of,
Yes.
it's okay to feel what you feel, but what are we going to do with these feelings?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what children need to appreciate and experience it. And we need to, we value the whole person.
Hmm.
Um, and it a child feels more valued when they begin to recognize all the richness in their life. They have so much to be thankful for. We come from, there's a it's like an epidemic of entitlement.
Mhm.
It's because we've lost that sense of appreciation for the simple things, and we can instill that in children. Really, it's and that's what I'm doing with my books. Thank God. Yes.
I love that so much. And this whole idea of teaching gratitude at such a young age, because especially nowadays, and I run it, and I'm guilty of this too, at having this scarcity mindset,
Yes.
uh, instead of, like you said, this idea of gratitude, because it took me, I'm 45, and it took me a long time to figure out that chasing those things that I want, whether it's a new car or a new, what things, just things,
Right.
I might actually be happy for about 5 or 10 minutes, but it
Yes.
fades away really quick because it's like I'm trying to make myself happy from the outside.
Yes.
It
Yes.
doesn't work like
Exactly. Beautifully put. That's exactly it. The more desperate we are to fill the emptiness inside with
that.
externalities, the deeper the hole gets. The emptiness
Yeah.
actually gets bigger because it's not a physical hole. That
Mhm.
hunger is genuine, but it's a spiritual hunger, and we
Mhm.
can fill it with genuine gratitude. That's what really fills us up.
It does. Something that you touched on, but I'd really like maybe you to explain a little bit more, because I know what my experience was as a child. I wasn't blessed with an easy childhood. There's a lot of trauma and a lot of loss, and I wouldn't change any of it because it's helped make me who I am. However, I could have used your books,
Yeah.
and I just know that for me as a child, I had that hole. A
Yes.
lot of people assume it doesn't start until you're older.
No. Yes.
So, did you experience that too then? The just that trying to fill that soul's need?
That's exactly it. And I didn't even know where to look. So I
Yeah.
tried everything.
Mhm.
Relationships, you know, what drugs, and social activism, but and then I began searching for wisdom. That's how I ended up going to Harvard, searching for ultimate wisdom, but that didn't fill my soul either. In fact, the eating disorder behavior got even worse while I was at Harvard. And then the lowest level was at medical school. It's not an intellectual understanding either. Again, we have to recognize that in essence, we're spiritual beings. And
Mhm.
unless we fill our souls, that emptiness is going to be there. That's what fills us. I I I have this thing. This has helped me. This is from ancient wisdom. It's called the pleasure ladder. There's
Mm.
5 rungs on it, which correspond to our 5 fingers. It's within our hands to bring pleasure into our lives at any moment. So the lowest level, and it also corresponds to the 5 levels of the human soul. The lowest level of the soul is the part that's connected to our body.
Mhm.
So all the natural physical pleasures, these bring us pleasure on the lowest level. And music, dancing, gardening, yoga, swimming, being in nature. These are pleasures, natural pleasures that lift us up with gratitude. And then above that is love. But you'd think love is not within our own hands, it's dependent on someone else. But this ancient definition is focusing on the virtues of another. We can
Mhm.
do that at any moment, even in prison. A
Mhm.
person could think of a grandmother that once did a kindness and be filled with that warm emotional feeling of love. We can bring it into our lives. Meaning is an even greater pleasure, more connection, because when we're in addiction, we feel estrangement,
Mhm.
loneliness. All of this brings greater and greater connection. Doing something meaningful for someone. I I was on a show and I got up to this, and the podcast host said, He had 2 slices of pizza when he was sitting by himself, and he was about to plow through the whole box of pizza. Someone knocks on his door. He helps his neighbor for 2 minutes. He comes back, he doesn't want the pizza anymore. He puts it in the fridge, because he filled up. He
Mhm.
filled up on doing something good and meaningful. Creativity, putting a unique part of ourselves into the world. When we're being creative, we don't feel like eating or sleeping. We're just on such a zone. And the highest transcendence, that's when we transcend our own limitations. We make that first crack in an addiction, in a bad habit. We try something new. We become a new person. It's also under a starry, starry sky at night when we know we're a part of this greater universe and
Mhm.
recognize we're all connected and we're all connected to source energy. It's a feeling of unity, of oneness. So this is the pleasure ladder, and it's available to us every moment to bring all these pleasures into our life. There's an abundance of pleasure available. So we stuff our faces because we want the pleasure to keep lasting.
Mhm.
We feel that scarcity, recognizing there's an abundance of pleasure that we could bring into our lives at any moment. That's the joyful way to overcome all these
Oh,
addictions.
that's beautiful. I want to touch on the love aspect because I want to share something that happened with me that could also maybe help the viewers too. I had the honor of living in Italy for quite some time. And while I was there, I ended up getting my heart broken. And then because where I was like not stationed, but where I was living, all most of my friends were Americans, and they all left because they were study abroad kids, and I wasn't. I was there to live in Italy, and so now I'm heartbroken, and all my good friends are gone. And I have to tell you, and this has happened to me multiple times throughout my life, but this one was, really profound. Was here I am. I basically felt like I had no friends because I didn't speak Italian fluently, and all the English speakers had just left. But I was shocked because I can't even tell you how many people stepped up and showed me kindness and friendship and love because they just wanted to take care of me. And these were people that, I didn't know really very well at all and would never expect it from. Or like when my mom passed away, it was not the people, I mean, granted, my friends and my family were really loving and caring with me, but there were so many people that just stepped up out of love to try and help me walk through something so painful.
Mhm.
And there's perfect strangers that are willing to do that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you're going through. And I've literally experienced it multiple times, but the one in Italy was pretty. I mean, they had, I mean, I was just brokenhearted. It wasn't like, but it
Yes.
didn't matter. Those people were there for me, and they
So
took me out.
beautiful.
Yeah, they just showed me kindness and friendship, and I didn't want to leave when it.
Oh,
Yeah, so they made one of the hardest times of my life bearable.
how wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah. So you
Wow.
just never know, finding if you're just open. And
Yes.
that's really, you just have to be open to it. Like I could have stayed in my apartment, all by myself and cried and drank wine and
Yes,
did
for
all that.
sure. Yes.
That would have been one way to react.
Right, 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 right.
But I went out with new friends and I did things, and yeah, I stayed active and took care of myself. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Right. It's so easy to fall into our bad habits, especially when we go through stressful times.
Mhm,
Absolutely. But the thing is, oh, like on my 600-pound life on that show,
mhm.
the people say the only thing bringing me pleasure anymore was food. That's it. So identify what else can bring you pleasure and
Hmm.
let little bits of that into your life, like you let in the love. Let in let it in, because
Yeah.
that's what we need, connection, to whether it's to a natural thing, go out. This is why it works. Going out and being in nature, listening to music,
Hmm.
moving. This explains, the pleasure ladder explains how it works, and why these things help us connect and overcome addiction, loneliness, anxiety, all of these things through making these amazing connections that bring lasting pleasure with gratitude, because that's really the price you need to pay is gratitude. That's really the price. Yeah.
I love that. On that note, we do need to go to one more commercial break. So we'll be right back in just a minute. And I said hello to everybody who is watching us live. Now it's time for me to say hello to everybody who is watching us on demand. Thank you for joining us as well. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation about gratitude, as well as a few other quick little questions for our guests. But we do need to go to commercial break. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring our guest right back so we can finish our conversation without wasting me any time on other things. Anyway, welcome back.
You are so talented. I can't get over that you created all that. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's I actually went to art school in Italy, which is fascinating. I studied fine art, but it does
Gorgeous.
translate. Creativity is creativity. So
Yes, yes,
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. But anyway, I wanted to continue the conversation about gratitude because you brought up something earlier that I think I just want to highlight, this idea or the sense of entitlement, like an expectation. And then when life doesn't, meet our expectations, we suddenly have we spiral and we do, this is
Yes.
normal sort of accepted behavior, but it doesn't have to be like that. So I love that you're, teaching children these ideas because nobody else really is. You
You're
know?
so right. One of the main times when people get into their addictions is when they're disappointed.
Mhm.
It's such an important. We have to realize that, recognize it. Oh, I'm feeling disappointed. So
Mhm.
I'll just eat this whole container of ice cream right now, or this whole box of chocolate chip cookies. Oh, that'll fix the problem, you know? It just, you feel even more miserable afterwards, right? So, I mean, the thing is, recognize I'm disappointed. I need pleasure in my life right now. How can I bring it into my life? Pleasure. Think of all the things you could do. You could eat something healthy with gratitude. You could turn on music and start dancing,
Mhm.
go for a run, go to the park. You could text somebody. What do I appreciate about someone?
Mhm.
You could think of visiting people in an assisted living. Just go up and talk to some lonely people. It's endless. All the things that you could do in one moment to uplift yourself, and you'll feel completely different in a moment. The bag of potato chips will stop screaming your name. It's like an amazing thing that happens the minute we make this connection.
Mhm. No, I love that too. You know, there's this show that I watched, and I don't know if you I don't I think it's called The Last of Us. It's basically a zombie mushroom movie or TV show. But the thing that I really liked about it was this little girl who grew up basically in captivity because of this mushroom thing. Her just amazement at the things that you and I take for granted.
Exactly. Exactly.
Whoa, you know, it was just to see it, even though it was acting, but to see it from somebody else's eyes, it,
Exactly.
I was thinking, wow, you know, the fact that I flew in the air across the ocean, you know, I lived in this other part of the world. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to do that, you know, or even
Beautiful.
flying a plane at all. It's just,
Beautiful.
you know, or even, you know, my fiance and I, we like to play pickleball on Sundays, and we go to this park, and there's a hill right behind the courts. And every time we're there, I'm like, babe, look at the hill because it's covered in, you know, flowers. And if you don't like, if you're so busy like paying attention to the game and stuff, you miss the most beautiful thing. So I'm always pointing out, and he with me as well, but always pointing out those things, the nature, the gorgeous things that we just aren't really paying attention to and appreciating.
Exactly. We can so easily fall into, of course,
Mhm.
instead of feeling gratitude to source. That's
Yes.
it that makes the world of difference in our entire lives. The more we experience gratitude, and any minute that we spend being grateful is a minute that we're not being miserable. We can't be both those things at the same moment.
That is
Exactly.
very, very true. I I don't share this very often, but in the morning I always thank the universe for the unexpected miracles that are going to come my way that day or this
Oh,
day. And then I write my gratitude journal about, you know, just different things, little things like you know, it could be as simple as I woke up before my alarm went off, or I can hear the birds chirping this morning. You know, just
yes.
whatever it is that I'm noticing, because you know our brain will start noticing more of those things. I know you are aware of that, so it's amazing.
Yes, and here's something so basic. Whenever I hand something to a child, I don't let go of it. I'm standing there smiling, and they're holding it, and they're looking at me, "What?" And then they realize, "Thank you." And then I let go of it. And my children have passed this on to their children. It's this very simple way to get children to appreciate getting a pencil, getting a piece of paper, getting
Mhm.
water, getting anything, and being grateful for it. My children became extremely grateful people. And this is just like what I love spreading. Yes.
I think that that is so beautiful. I love that so much. Do all of your kids live near you?
Oh no, they're all over the place. I have two are in town here, and then one is in New Jersey, one's in Texas, one's in Arizona, and one is in Israel.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just, it's interesting to me that it seems like since you're such a good mom and you're a mom to more than just your children, and I think that that's a way of being as opposed to a title. Like for me personally, I've been motherly towards clients of mine who happen
Yes.
to be in their 70s.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
they're the first ones to say that. I'm not just, but I just feel like there's a way. It's like a caring sort of, when you're careful with someone's heart, and you want
Yes.
to nourish their heart. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. And
Beautiful.
yeah, because I think that, motherhood isn't necessarily tied to giving birth.
That's right. We're planting seeds all the time in this world. That's what we're doing. And those tiny seeds become trees and become more fruit. It's like you were saying, the people that reached out to you in Italy, a smile. We have one of my books is about how a smile just keeps traveling, going from one place to the next because it affects this person, then it affects that person, and it just goes on and on. The ripples.
No, I love that. I'm not proud of this, but you'll understand why I want to share it. This is back when I lived in New Jersey, and it's been quite a few, at least a decade since this has happened. But I remember I was in the drive-thru at McDonald's, and that's the part I didn't want to share. But I'm in the drive-thru, and I get up to pay at the window, and the lady said, "Oh, they paid for you ahead of me." And it was one of
Oh,
those gratitude things. I was so touched
oh,
by it that I
yes.
paid for the person behind me. And who knows how long,
Oh,
like that gratitude. And the funny thing is I don't think I was even working at the time, or I was low on funds, but it didn't
yes.
matter. I just was so grateful that I wanted to keep that feeling going for somebody else. So
Beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, I love that. We are almost out of time, so we only have about a minute or so left. Is there anything that you'd love to share with the audience that maybe you haven't before, or even reiterate something that you think is important?
I'll just say, what's the difference between a miserable life and a happy life? How grateful you are.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that so much. And I just wanted to pop up your website again so that people can take a look and, purchase some books and find out a little bit more about you and your family. So, Brock, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure. You are a wonderful soul, and I am so glad that you are letting your soul shine so that you can help brighten the other souls of children. So
Well,
thank you so
you're amazing. I'm so happy to be with you.
much.
And I just love being part of all that you are sharing with the world. You're
Oh,
incredible.
thank you so much. Thank you. Well, everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We will be back. Today's what, Monday? Yeah. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll see you then, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week until then.